Hi everyone, Christina here. Welcome to another card video at my YouTube channel and blog. Today I'm going to be playing with two different stamp sets from Winnie and Walter. This first one is a fun border stamp called Scenery Stripes 2, and the other is called Sketchy Thoughts. So I'm going to do a lot of stamping today. Starting out by placing some Neenah Solar White 80-pound cardstock inside a Misty stamping tool, and I'm going to stamp this Talk Bubble shape from the Sketchy Thought set in some Simon Says Stamp black ink. And I want this to be really solid and stark, so I'm going to stamp it twice. So I'm going to go ahead and ink up that stamp again, and then I'll press it down onto the cardstock. So this stamp image has, like the name of the stamp set would suggest, has a sketchy look to it. So there are some elements in the center that are still white, but the rest of it is a nice stark black. So the bulk of the stamping on this card is going to come into play when I'm stamping all of the border stamps. So I'm starting out with some Love Letter Memento Luxe pigment ink. And I'm going to ink up this stamp over here and then swing the door of the Misty over, and you're going to see that it's a little bit splotchy. It's not very solid, so I'm going to stamp it once more. Unfortunately, my ink pad was a little bit dry, so that's why I had to stamp twice. This orange color is called Morocco, and I think it might be one of my most favorite orange inks of all time. Orange ink, finding the right shade can be so hard, and I just really love this intense, warm orange color. I think it looks really nice. So I just stamped that over the same area where that original red stamped border was, and I just offset it so that it filled in the gaps in between those arrows. So I stamped another red border underneath, and then this kind of diagonal stripe is spaced out so that you can have two other colors go in that same stripe. So I just slid that over, and I use Love Letter and Morocco, and now I'm going to bring in Dandelion. And this is a nice warm golden yellow. I really love the Memento Luxe pigment line, especially for this kind of rainbow color scheme that I'm going with here. The green color I'm using is called Pear Tart, and I like that it's a little bit more a brighter green. It's not such a grass green like a true emerald green. I wanted more of a playful, fun, lighter yellow green, so this Pear Tart is perfect for that. And here's another diagonal stamp that has those gaps that you can fill in if you'd like. So now I'm using Bahama Blue, and like that green color that's really fun, I like this bright cyan blue color. It's so beautiful. And I did a couple more border stamps in that color. And I'm going to fill in the gaps on this one with a color called Lilac Posies. And it's a great purple shade. It's not like your traditional royal purple. It's a little bit more on like a red-violet tinge. So it goes well with this color scheme. I just really love all these colors. And you may have noticed I'm sort of going in a rainbow order here. So that's kind of fun. And I wanted to make sure that I mixed a couple of border stamps with 2 or 3 colors so that I got a little bit of a color transition too. So I'm putting some more purple down here at the bottom, just to make sure I have an area that's going to be large enough for the circle window that I'm going to be creating. And then I can take that out of my Misty stamping tool. And you'll notice that I left behind lots of ink, which is easily cleaned up with a baby wipe because I'm using it's kind of like a mouse pad insert that has a slick surface on it, so it's easy to clean your ink up. And I'm going to use Hero Arts Ultra Clean Stamp Cleaner to pick up some of this pigment ink from a card I made a while back. It doesn't take it off completely, but it does a pretty good job cleaning up this entire mouse pad so that I don't have any remaining ink just sticking around. So now I'm going to go back to that black talk bubble that I stamped earlier. I'm going to coat it with a powder tool. This is an anti-static powder tool that I like to use before I do heat embossing. And I'm just going to test that area to make sure that my embossing powder will still slide off. And then I'm going to stamp a sentiment from that Sketchy Thoughts stamp set in Versamark ink. Then I'll take it back to that Hero Arts white embossing powder, sprinkle that on, and now it will only stick to the area that has been stamped. So it gives you a really nice, clean, embossed image when you do it this way. So there's this little star stamp in the Sketchy Thoughts stamp set, and I thought it would be really fun to include those, just some little accents that I could put on the card. So I stamped 5 stars, and then I set that aside while I prepped my border stamped piece. So I'm just trimming this down to be a little bit smaller so that I can put it behind a circle window. And speaking of that circle window, I'm going to go ahead and cut it out now. I'm using a circle die from the Simon Says Stamp Nested Circles die set, and I just cut out some Neenah Solar White cardstock. So my card base today is some more Neenah Solar White cardstock, but it's in the 110 pound version, so it's a little bit thicker. It's great for card bases. And I just adhered that border stamped piece directly onto the card front, and then I put some foam adhesive on the back of that window piece, the circle window, and then I placed that right over the top, and now I just have those border stamp images peeking out from that window. You could definitely make this into a shaker card very easily if you wanted to, but I kept mine very simple. So this stamp set from Rennie and Walter does not have a matching die set, so I just used some scissors and a fussy cut around these images, and I left a little bit of a white border around the edges. I like to do that for images like this because it's not quite as obvious if you don't have a perfect cut. So I arranged all those stars on the front of the card, and then I placed 2 layers of adhesive, foam adhesive on the top of the talk bubble and then just one on the bottom because it is hanging over into that circle window, but then also on the outside still. I then cut a bunch of little tiny foam pieces to go behind the stars and then placed them onto the card. So that finishes the card for today. Super simple and easy. I think this is a great way to use border stamps or even any solid image stamps that don't have, lines and coloring that's needed inside. Thanks so much for watching today. I will be back very soon with another card video. Until then, thanks for watching.